Hello, hello, and welcome to our show, Conversations with Lady T, where we bring guests on our show to talk about issues and topics that matter. We educate, empower, and excite our guests to live their dreams and come together in their communities to make positive impacts. We use tea as a means to relax our guests, warm their hearts, and open their minds to new possibilities. Get your China teacups and enjoy the show. Today I have a lovely lady, Nancy. Thank you for coming on the show. I am so appreciative that you had the time to come because I just love your story. You know, we met at the Links Breakfast. You're on the board for the Links Education Partners in Newark, and they do a fabulous job with the school. So,
you're so welcome. Thank you for having me, Sharon.
Thank
you for having me on this beautiful day.
Yes. So we're going to just start with a little tea, and the tea that we're drinking this morning, this is a Belgian chocolate. It's a rooibos, naturally no caffeine, so feel free to enjoy.
Thank you. You and I also met when you did a beautiful tea demonstration at Link Education Partners for one of the charity funds.
Yes.
So that's actually how I met you the first time.
Right, yes.
And I believe this was one of the teas that I loved that time.
Yes, we did. We
chocolate.
had the tea. We talked a little bit about tea wellness for the students and the guests that were there, and then you did your workshop as well.
Yes.
So I'm just so glad that you can be here because this is going to be an empowering story for people to hear.
Thank you. Yes, it's a long journey. And so actually, you know, Sharon, you know some of my story, but my journey began, you know, I was really living my life like, you know, most ordinary women. I actually had a wonderful, successful career in human resources, and then I went on and had 2 beautiful children. And while hurtling through life at full speed, I was stopped in my tracks when I contracted parvovirus B19, otherwise known to the population as fifth disease. Fifth disease is something, a very benign virus that children get. It comes around most schools every spring.
Wow.
Anyway, I contracted that virus, and within a week, I was crippled with arthritis.
Wow.
And within 2 weeks, I was in hospitals. And so for 2 years, I was in and out of hospitals with raging fevers, a debilitating fatigue, joint pain, heart complications, and nobody could figure out what virus was wreaking havoc on my body. Well, finally it was determined I had an acute case of parvovirus B19, which had just been named, actually, by the way, in 1995 about that. So I was actually one of the first people to undergo something called intravenous gamma globulin treatments, a experimental procedure that I found myself on the internet when my doctors, you know, my doctors said, we're just going to treat the symptoms, but there is no cure. This is a viral syndrome. And I was unable to take care of my children. I was unable to take care of my home. So it was a devastating blow for my family.
I can imagine.
And I eventually recovered from that virus, from this intravenous gamma globulin, but I subsequently developed lupus and fibromyalgia. So that turned my life upside down.
Right, I can imagine.
Yeah, my life became all about pain. And I've always been, you know, I had this Irish-willed mother, and I never give up. So I kind of said, this isn't good enough. I've got to fight with everything I have with these diseases for my children, for my family. So I basically underwent every mainstream and holistic procedure that I could possibly find. You know, some of the pain medications immediately put me into the hospital, so I threw out all the pills and decided I needed to find a better way.
Right, of course.
I tried acupuncture, chiropractic. I forced my poor husband to sleep on a magnetic mattress with me.
God.
There wasn't anything I didn't try.
Right.
And so it was a long journey, and I did recover a good amount of my life, but I still was significantly disabled by anybody's standpoint. And then a fateful day, I say, you know, maybe by the luck of the bunny, in the blizzard of 2001, I always refer to it as the Armageddon. The only pet we had in our home was a lizard, and my husband was allergic to dogs and cats.
Right, oh my goodness.
So, and my daughter had asthma, so we settled on a lizard, but a strange pet for a family. But in the blizzard of 2001, the kids and I had some cabin fever. We left the house to get crickets for our lizard. And I don't know what came over me that night, but the pet store owner came over and said, we have a litter of these beautiful new bunnies. And so I held this bunny, and something came over me. I say, despite the frigid temperature of that day, like my heart began to melt. And somehow I knew I needed this bunny, and my children needed this bunny. And to this day, I often wonder, how did I know that?
Right.
Anyway, so that bunny spent 9 years in the life of our family.
Nice.
And Bunny Boy, who actually is the title of my book here, which we'll talk a little bit about. Bunny Boy was a house-trained, litter-trained rabbit, which a lot of people at that time didn't even realize you can do. Now bunnies are a little bit more popular because this was many years ago. And I thought he'd live in the house in a cage, you know, just like a little rabbit. Well, I started carrying him around like my third baby because while I was blessed with the 2 children, they recommended I not have any more children, being I had lupus and fibromyalgia. So I started treating this bunny like my 3rd child, and so did the kids, like their sibling. And at 9 months old, he was diagnosed with an incurable abscess. And I had actually just flown home from taking care of my sister-in-law in Colorado, had stage 4 cancer.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a very tumultuous time.
Yes.
So that was not good enough for me. I said to the veterinarian, you know, I'm from a medical family. I never give up for myself. I want the best treatment for this bunny. We had never been to a vet. So the vet said, well, we could operate on Bunny Boy and remove the jaw abscess, but I have to warn you, he's a prey animal. They're at the bottom of the food chain, bunnies. They die easily from anesthesia. Even if he wakes up and feels pain, he may roll over and die.
Oh no, that's not good.
So I said, we're going to lose him anyway. Maybe they would have kept him alive a few months on antibiotics. He had the surgery. He did remarkable. Now, we did have to give him penicillin shots every day for 6 weeks. We had to drain abscess tubes in his jaw, but it really became a family bonding experience for all of us, and we grew that much closer to Bunny Boy.
Oh my gosh.
He went on to live then for another 4 years.
Oh,
he
that's
became,
beautiful.
well, it's funny. He became the children's mascots for their teams, their sports teams. He even became their science fair project. So we were, you know, one of the few towns that had a live animal in their science fair. And he became an integral part of our family.
Wow.
And during that time, my health wavered up and down, and I also had another 6-month round of gamma globulin treatments. And Bunny Boy was always there for me. He would lie on my chest or tuck himself under my armpit when he knew I needed him the most. Because when you have intravenous gamma globulin, you get fevers, you get a lot of muscle pain. It's the treatments can get rough, certainly the more of them you have.
Right.
So he really became my partner in fighting chronic pain. We did everything together.
That's beautiful.
And so fast forward a few years later, his abscess returned. And the veterinarian who cared for him in Franklin Lake said, you know, there's a new procedure being done at the world famous Animal Medical Center in New York City.
Wow.
I don't do it yet. I just saw it at UPenn where I graduated veterinary school. I want you to take him there. I think he's strong enough to have the procedure.
Wow.
We brought him in, we had him evaluated. He underwent therapy where they implanted something called antibiotic beads. They were absorbable beads that they put in his jawbone. They would absorb slowly over 3 to 4 months, and they felt that in conjunction with antibiotic injections and oral antibiotics, they could change the course of these life-threatening infections.
Oh my goodness.
So Bunny Boy had that treatment. He became a little famous. The residents there in the hospital would, yes, you know, I'd get a call, can we use Bunny Boy's records? We have residents coming in, we're teaching them about, you know, dental, you know, treatments for rabbits. So the story continued.
Yes.
And during that time, we became really, we fought our pain together. There were times where I would drop him at the Animal Medical Center at 1st and 62nd in New York, continue down to 1st and 34th to NYU, have 8 hours of gamma globulin myself, go back, pick him up. We really became the strength for each other.
Yeah, of course.
So then a few years later, I woke up and my face was swollen, and I raced out to the doctor because I was on Enbrel at the time, which is a strong biologic that suppresses a part of your immune system that causes inflammation. Enbrel, Humira, Cosentyx, they're all kind of in a similar category. So if you get an infection, it can be deadly. I literally used a corn pad once and almost lost my toe.
Oh my God.
So I raced off to the physician and they said, we think it could be cancer in the bone.
Oh my God.
Well, thankfully I woke up from the surgery and they literally said to me, you had an infection, an abscess deep in the bone stemming from the root of your tooth.
Oh my God.
Exactly the diagnosis Bunny Boy had had.
Wow.
I literally said, am I still under the effects of the anesthesia? I couldn't believe what I heard, Sharon.
Yeah,
it was that
is
uncanny.
something else. Wow.
And they said, we used a new treatment. We put absorbable antibiotic beads into the bone once we remove the
something
abscess.
else.
So I said to the doctor, "What took you so long?" And he kind of chuckled, and he said, "What?" And I said, "They did that on my bunny."
Right. That is so
Numerous
incredible.
years ago at the Animal Medical Center in New
Wow.
York, and he said, "I want to call that surgeon.
Yeah.
You know, when you're feeling better, please stop in and give me the name of the surgeon. I need to know
Wow.
about that treatment."
Now let me ask you a quick question. Was he the first animal that they did that on?
He was one of the first mammals
Wow.
that they did that
Oh
on,
my
and that's
gosh.
why he became famous. You know, I
Wow,
remember
that's
one time
beautiful.
coming up the elevator at the Animal Medical Center, and there were a couple of residents, you know, with their trays of coffee in the elevator, and they said, "Oh, is that Bunny Boy Laracy?" And I said, "Yes, it is.
Oh my
How do you
gosh.
know who he is?"
Wow.
So, you know, we went on, actually, Sharon, we've been in about 10 magazines. We've been in Rabbits USA, we've been in Arthritis Today magazine, Pain Pathways, Pain View. You know, during this time, I also became an advocate for the chronic pain community. I worked directly with the president of the National Fibromyalgia and Chronic Pain Association, Jan Chambers.
Yes.
We work a lot on, we actually just did a lot of work on the National Pain Strategy, which is becoming critically important now with the opiate crisis
is.
that we
Yes,
have. You know,
for
if you're
sure.
going to take away opiates from the chronic pain
Right.
patients
Oh,
that
yeah.
use them, we need to replace
Yes,
that
for
with
sure.
something.
Yeah.
So the National Pain Strategy will address some of those
Right.
issues. But, you know, the one thing I also want to talk about today is, you know, chronic pain is an issue that is becoming more and more prevalent in our society.
It is.
In young children.
It is.
And trauma is one of the causes of chronic pain, and that's something we have to think about.
Yes.
Our children are living in an environment of high stress at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of stress. Oh my
trauma.
gosh.
We have school shootings, we have stressful home environment,
Yes.
and these children are developing pain syndromes at a very, very early age.
Right.
And it's something that we have to really think about.
Yeah, it has to be addressed.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that I did, and mind you, I'm very disabled at many times. There are many, many times where
Wow.
I literally cannot get out of bed,
Right.
and I do some of my work from my
From
bed,
the bed.
from my
Yeah.
sofa. When I go out on a lot of engagements or speaking engagements, sometimes I have to take someone with me to
Right.
drive me. It's not as easy as it may
Right.
look for me
Exactly.
to be here.
Right.
So I started my own charity called Bunnies in Baskets,
Lovely.
because at the end of Bunny Boy's life, my mother was hospitalized and then in a resident facility for
Right.
about 2 months. So I brought Bunny Boy over to visit her. She said, "You know, when are you bringing my grandson over?"
That's
So I
so
brought her
cute.
over, no papers, no
Yeah.
certification. And when I saw the response I started getting from some of the Alzheimer's patients in
Yeah.
particular, I mean, I had a man that had not spoken in the entire time he was at the facility. I put the
Wow.
bunny on his lap and he said 4 words.
Oh my gosh.
"I want that bunny."
Wow.
And he said it
That
very,
is
very
something
slowly,
else.
but the staff applauded.
Right. I can imagine.
So sadly, once Bunny Boy died, and that left a big hole in
I
my
can
heart.
imagine. The whole family, I'm sure, was
Yes,
very
because after
distraught.
his second surgery, it was even more, penicillin shots, and and my husband was very involved. Despite giving myself injections for years and
Oh my
years
gosh.
myself of
Yeah.
all types of medication, I couldn't give them to
Oh
Bunny
my
Boy.
God.
I was so emotionally
Yeah.
attached to
I
him.
can imagine, because y'all are both going through a lot of the same pain and discomforts and
Right.
surgeries.
So my
and-
husband would do these shots for me literally every day.
Wow.
The children would help me
That's
bandage his
nice.
paws when, because the abscess switched to his paws. So there was a lot of love. I mean, even the veterinarian who cared for him, Dr. Welsh in Franklin Lakes, she passed away suddenly shortly
Oh,
after
gosh.
Bunny Boy of pancreatic cancer, and she left behind 4 children. The book actually is dedicated to Cheryl.
Yes.
I'll show that picture
Beautiful.
again.
Yes.
It is dedicated to her, and she had written a prologue for the front of the
That's
book
nice.
about bunnies as a species and how weak they are, and then how Bunny Boy defied the odds.
Yeah.
So we're very, very excited for lots of reasons
Yes.
about the book.
Yeah, I'm so excited about everything you're talking about, because being an advocate for people that are having so much pain is very important. And we need people like you to step forward and talk about your journey. It's going to encourage other people. But the bunny, like you said, people love animals. And I think that, when you have an animal that can help you to feel better.
Bunny Boy, in so many ways. I remember coming home one time from a gamma globulin treatment and being so weak, my husband had to walk me in the door. And the bunny came, they do this cute thing called binking, and he came binking across the living room and leapt up. And I I caught him, and I thought, where did I get the strength to catch him? But that's how, you know, Bunny Boy kept me going.
That's beautiful.
So Bunny Boy, by the way, only died of old age. We kept him alive till the very end, and he did die in my arms. And there's a beautiful spiritual thread throughout the book that I will share with, you know, with readers, because there were numerous, you may call them amazing coincidences, true miracles after Bunny Boy's passing. And they are all in the back of the book. And, you know, I was one of those people that was very lucky. I won't give away too much, but my father appeared to me after he died when I was 21 years old. So while I was, you know, brought up a blind Catholic, I say the pivotal point in my adult relationship with God was when my father appeared to me. So my faith very rarely, if ever, wavers from that point.
That's wonderful.
So when I started my charity, Bunnies in Baskets, I had my second bunny, Muffin, and I started out bringing her first out to some of the old age, you know, facilities, because I wanted to make sure she had the right temperament, you know, to deal with patients and lifting her and holding her, and she was wonderful. And while I had planned on then working with children, it happened without me even, you know, focusing on it. I received an email from the director of the school up in Newtown, Sandy Hook, Newtown, Connecticut. A beautiful woman named Judy Sims, who I'm still quite good friends with now. She ran the Children's Adventure Center, which shared the same driveway with Sandy Hook Elementary, where the awful tragedy took place. So she had taught all 20 students. She had walked probably 8 of them up the driveway that morning, and they were hurting. Her school still had to be open. I went up maybe 3 weeks after the tragedy. It was my first work with children. I went up with a carload of gifts and presents, you know, from the town, because the whole world, you know, was outpouring toward Newtown. We had a beautiful day. She said it was the first time she had seen her children smile since that happened. And I continue. I've been going up to either the Resiliency Center, which is up there, their camp in the summer, or to her school for the last, you know, since it happened. I go up 2 to 3 times a year. And the children are about 10 and 10 and a half years old now, the children who actually were in the school and saw the tragedy. And I've been working with the siblings as well of some of the families. But then Cancer Care, a national organization, found me when I was working through one of the nursing homes with Muffin.
Oh, nice.
And they said, we'd like you to do a few programs. So I started doing a Dude Ranch weekend once a year out at the Malibu Dude Ranch in Pennsylvania. And it's a beautiful bereavement camp that Cancer Care runs for families in the tri-state area who the children have lost a parent to cancer. And then I started working with another organization called Camp Dream Street out of Tenafly, New Jersey. And that organization, the children all have cancer. So the events started to spread, and my programs became larger. I have a lot of wonderful bunny books narrated by bunnies, you know, when I feel angry, when I feel sad. Their newest is When I Feel Afraid, which is so perfect for what people are going through now. And I would buy 150 of the books and autograph them from Muffin. And I would work with the children's in a group and then individually. And we had oodles of stuffed bunnies and, you know, a bunny craft related to the weekend or whatever the event was. So it morphed into a very big proposition that I just love. You know, Muffin became the essence of my work for the last 8 years. Once again, I had a lot of help with that because I am quite disabled at any given point. You know, my sister comes to the events and carries the books and carries the stuffed animals, or I have a brother who comes with me. You know, because once I said, sometimes I wake up and I can't move. I can't drive myself, but I have an event and I would never let the children down. So the back of the book deals, you know, the epilogue in the book talks about Muffin a little bit, but the primary story of Bunny Boy and me, which I'll show you again, is about my journey with Bunny Boy and how not only did he figuratively help save my life in every way, he literally pioneered a treatment that I very much needed at the time. You know, when I was on Enbrel, regular antibiotics may not have been enough to get rid of a deep bone infection. And only folks who are on that know the risks of those medications. You know, I'm actually on Cosentyx right now, which is one of the newer ones that hopefully is a little bit more successful. So there's a lot involved.
Well, there's a reason why she came into your life. You know, and things always happen for a reason.
Yeah.
Because without her, you wouldn't, like you said, you wouldn't have known about this procedure, which happened a couple years before that.
Yeah, I believe both
That
bunnies
is-
came into my life for a reason, and you know, I remember when I lost Bunny Boy, I really felt like I'd lost a part of my heart.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, because it's like having a sick child.
Right,
when
it
you
is.
are caring for them every day, penicillin shots and changing bandages. And the most amazing thing about this bunny was he would have these bandages on his thumper legs,
my
I used to
God.
call them. And he would still jump around the house with a love for life that I fed off of. You know, sometimes I felt broken, Sharon, I'm
I
going to
can
be
imagine.
honest. I
I
felt
can
there were
imagine.
so many and still are so many things I cannot do.
Right.
And I was a type A personality. I had a very full life. And it was hard to accept the fact that I couldn't do a lot of things
Right, I
and that
can
I still
imagine.
can't, and I would never, you know. The one thing I will tell you is I did have one doctor though that said to me, you know, psychologically you may never be yourself again. And I refused to accept that.
Yes.
I said, there's not a chance.
Right.
That is not who I
Of
am.
course.
I'm a fighter. I always have been. And I am still myself. I'm still that same person inside.
Beautiful.
I may not look broken on the outside,
I
but
know.
I have many things that I can't do.
Right.
And so Bunny Boy taught me that that was okay.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people who hesitate to get a pet, they're in chronic pain, they have a lot of back pain, arthritis, because they think it's a lot of extra work.
Exactly, yeah.
You're actually on the receiving end of pet therapy when you have a pet. You know, you need to keep moving. You have to move. You have to get up. You have to walk a
That's
dog.
true.
You
That's
have to
so
feed
true.
them. You have to groom them. You know, in my case, I had a bunny that wanted me to chase him around the house. He thought he was a NASCAR driver. You know, Bunny Boy wanted me to chase him around the
Yes.
house. You know, he wanted to be fed and
Right.
pet and held.
Right.
And the love that he taught me was just unconditional
Yes,
love, you
yes.
know. So it's really a magical journey
That
of
sounds
the book,
magical.
of a lifelong bond
Yeah.
that I say was formed in sickness and in health.
Yes.
You know, we formed a bond, and he was the breath of fresh air that came into my life, and he changed my family's life forever.
Yes.
You know, he really, I say, did he turn our house upside down or did he turn it right side up?
Right,
I
there
think
you
he
go.
turned it right side
Nice.
up, you know, with his love for life. And the
Yes.
kids, you know, my children adored him, and we became known as the Bunny family in
Yeah,
Franklin
that's
Lakes.
so wonderful.
I think I'm probably the only, you know, person in the tri-state area that is such a bunny lover.
Yes.
But
There's a reason. There's a reason. She fills your heart, fills your family's heart, and you know, just made you feel much better than you were. So I think that's a wonderful story.
Yeah, and
that you both did that for each other.
exactly. It
Yes.
was, we both gave back to each other what we both needed. And I
Yeah.
said, you know, Bunny Boy had an uncanny way of knowing what I needed at the time.
Yes.
You know, there were mornings where I got up and I'm so stiff, and it was almost like he knew, you know, she needs to move.
Oh
I
my
think I'm going to play the
gosh.
bunny game now. We used
Wow.
to have this game that we played, and he would just start running around the house so that I, you know, and rabbits can have such an unbelievable personality. You know, a lot of people don't know that.
Right, yeah, no, I don't
They
know.
do now. They do now
Yes.
because, you know, we've been in probably a dozen magazines,
Yes.
you know, some national ones
Yes.
like Arthritis Today.
Yes.
We were actually in a psychology journal, and we've been on the Pet Stop and
Right.
Channel 12 News several
Nice.
times. Actually, we'll be coming back on in the fall because
Good.
Dr. Voynich is actually reading the book.
Oh, okay, great.
You know, and I'm happy to say the book is getting a lot of publicity.
Right. That's
We've
good.
gotten some advanced praise from like the president of the National Fibromyalgia and Chronic Pain
Yeah, that's great.
Association, you know, Deborah Weiner of the American Society of Pain Educators read it and has written a
Nice.
beautiful blurb. I actually have several authors that have requested to read the book that
Okay,
are writing
nice.
some advanced praise.
Beautiful.
And so I know that the story is out there from the last, you know, 4 or 5 years in
Yes.
magazines. So now I just hope that we
Awesome.
can get the story out there to everybody.
Yeah, you should. And is this encouraging doctors or the medical field to maybe, you know, have more rabbits, you know, working
Well,
around with people?
yes, bunnies in baskets
Yes.
actually is becoming much more popular.
Okay.
It's very popular out in Oregon. You
Okay.
know, Sarah Barron started a fantastic organization out there. There are 1 or 2 bunny therapy teams on the
Okay.
East Coast now. I think one up north and one
Okay.
down south. But people are definitely
Okay.
focusing more on bunny therapy. And you
Wonderful.
know, a lot of my organizations said the difference, while everyone loves therapy dogs, the difference with Muffin was that people could hold her
yeah,
and feel her
easy.
love. I mean,
Right.
I had a 6'4" tall gentleman from Cancer Care, and God bless his heart, he was dying of stage 4 colon cancer. He probably weighed 90 pounds at 6'4".
Right, but
he was holding Muffin, and he said to me, and he spoke to Muffin directly. He said, you know, Muffin, I'm dying of stage 4 colon cancer.
Right.
It's not good.
Wow.
But the joy I feel holding your furry little body, I can't explain
I
to
can
you.
imagine.
Like some of the beautiful things that children in particular who've lost a parent have said to me, you know, because one of the events I did with Cancer Care, they said, you know, we have certified grief counselors, we have people with MSWs, but we can't always get the children to talk about the loss of their parent, but you and your bunny can.
The bunny, of course, I was going to say that.
And, you know, I used to say to them, you know, children will talk to their pet sometimes before their parent.
That's so true.
So I would sit there with Muffin, and, you know, I would cuddle the child with Muffin, and they'd say, you know, my dad was a Mets fan. He loved the Mets, and I miss my dad so much. Or, you know, when I miss my mom, Muffin, I'm so afraid. I go and I hide on the shelf of the coffee table. There would be room for you there with me, Muffin. So the beautiful thing, you know, Cancer Care is an amazing organization. They're national, and they do a wonderful job in the tri-state area. I love being a part of their organization. I really do. The bereavement camp, it's actually next weekend in Pennsylvania. And they're always there, you know, for people who do not know about them, please look up Cancer Care, you know, and I also work for the Butterflies Hospice Program out of Valley Hospital in Ridgewood. And I was doing home visits to children with cancer with my bunny, and I'm no longer doing that. I miss Muffin dearly, but I've stayed affiliated with the organizations in whatever capacity I can.
So are you working more with the seniors and children, or about the same?
I was actually doing a lot more work with children the last 5 years. Yeah, because the events that I planned were large events. A lot of thought and time went into them. You know, finding a book that was appropriate, you know, ordering the books, you know, getting stuffed bunnies, chocolate bunnies. I have different vendors that would volunteer. And once again, you know, even, you know, some of the vendors would bring the things to my home on a day that they knew I couldn't get out of bed to drive and pick things up, you know. So there was a lot of teamwork behind the events that I do. So I'm still involved with Bunnies in Baskets. I don't know that I will get another bunny at the moment. I've been very blessed with a brand new grandchild, Sharon. I have a 4-month-old daughter.
I met her at the last thing that
So between her and the work that's required to keep up with the book, I'm not sure it's the right time. You know, my health, like I mentioned, I'm on Cosentyx, which is a new medication at the moment. I developed a third autoimmune disease called ankylosing spondylitis. So my spine is fusing, my ribs are fusing, so there's just not room in my life at the moment for another bunny.
Keep you in my prayers. And just tell everybody the website and just a little bit more information.
Yes, so the website where you can find me is www.nancyLaracy.com. I'll spell that, NANCYLARACY. If you go to the media page, you'll be able to see the articles that have been published to date. The blog page has pictures and narrations of the many events that I've done for the last 5 years. And there will be an author page now with the cover of the book. It's being published by Skyhorse Publishing, Allworth Press in New York City. And they're actually very excited about the book as well. It is the first pet recovery / memoir about a bunny.
Beautiful.
And it is a chronic pain, I would say, pet recovery memoir. It's a very upbeat book, though, Sharon. It's not, you know, it's very realistic. I talk about the effects chronic pain had on my life, but it is a very upbeat book. It really is all about the bond and the relationship formed in sickness and in health. People can't help but smile when they read the book.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I can't believe time is up
so
already,
much.
but you gave us a lot of wonderful information. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Having me. And I'll see you at Link, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Until next time, bye-bye. We went over a little bit, but that's okay. You're welcome. That was beautiful. Oh my.